So in this little video, I'm going to show you how you can adapt a few objects to become tools, and I'm also going to show you how you can just use some random things that you have lying around. So to start out, I have a little mound of clay that we can play around with. This has been conditioned a little bit so it's nice and soft. And one thing that I know we all have a bunch of are skewers, and they're not as easy to manipulate if you're just holding it. For me anyway, I like to have something that feels a little bit more like a pencil, is a little more substantial. I can have a little bit more control over it. And so, one thing I've done is I've taped a skewer to two pencils, and that really helps. It helps me have a little bit more control over the tool. Okay, so if maybe I want to have a little canyon in there. And I'm a person who really, if given the choice, I basically don't use tools. I just kind of play around with my hands and the clay, which is ridiculous, but it's always it's just the way I have learned. So you want to use your fingers a lot, and you want to use the tool. And all of these things together can really help you kind of get the feeling that you want with your clay. Okay, so see how I got that nice curve that goes into a really deep crevice, and that I can't do that with my finger unless I have a very long fingernail. Okay, so to make this, basically I've got a skewer, and I had a bunch of colored pencils hanging around, so I thought I'd just use these. And to have as much control over your tool as possible, tape the skewer so that it's very close to the end of your pencil, and clamp it in two places, tape it in two places. Okay, so basically I just put these all together. The hardest part for me, oh my gosh, the hardest part for me is just the holding of them all together. I just did this a few minutes ago, and it was a total disaster as well. So you hold them very, very tightly, and just stretch the tape around as though the tape stretches. Tape does not stretch, but stretch the tape around. Very probably you will need to adjust this while you're working on it. This is not a tool that you would buy because it's not going to stay together. The tape probably will come off. I was using some electric tape. That was kind of fun, and it seemed a little more sturdy. Put electric tape on this Sharpie. It works pretty well. So see, I've got both of these, and I'm just taping them very tight. Okay, and then poof, you've got this nice little ergonomic, easy to hold tool that you can make textures with and do whatever you want. You can also adjust the end of this. So for instance, let's see, I had one that I have on the end of one pencil, and I'm not sure if we'll be able to see this. Probably can't see it very well, but it is let's see, those vloggers, they always go like this. Let's see if that does anything. I've adjusted the end so it's kind of like a spatula, a very, very thin spatula. And what that's done is it's smoothed out the wood, for one. That's kind of helpful. And so it gives me a nice smooth, it smooths out the clay more than the just plain wood without adjusting it does. And so the way I would go about doing this is I might have the tool, the skewer might be connected to an object. That makes it easier to hold. And then I might whittle it down. And when I whittle, I try to, whittling or carving, I try to have control over the tool, okay? Sometimes I see people go, pow, pow, pow. That's just not safe, okay? So don't do that. But what you do want to do is have control over the tool, and that means that I've got the object that I'm carving right here, and I've got the tool. I'm making a tool with a tool, and that makes it very hard to describe. So I'm holding the X-Acto knife, and I've got control over it as I go. Now, as you carve, you always want to carve kind of in at an angle and out. Let's see, in and out, okay? In and out. And that will give you a nice surface. Now, I've done a ton of woodworking, so this might be one of those situations where it looks like I make it really easy, but it might be a little more difficult when you try it. But that's okay. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes precise, not perfect. Perfect is very hard to achieve. So here's my little spatula tool. Okay, and go like this. And use it very, very, very similar way. You can even, it's kind of like a knife, so you could even cut with it. Oh. And so there's another tool. And then, let's see. The last tool that we're going to look at is this little gouge. So this has a curved piece of plastic taped to a pencil. Okay? And so here's where I cut out my plastic, and then so I'm going to do that. I just use scissors on plastic that's nice and thin like this, because I feel like I can get a nice even, ooh, that got a little big, a nice even cut. And I made it just a little bit bigger than I meant to. So I'm going to cut this down a little bit. And let's see. Sometimes it's hard to get a nice even cut unless you start at the very end and go around. So if I tried to cut off like a little snippet there and a little snippet there, I might not get a nice even cut. So now I want this to become a little bit curved because it's very rigid. So I want it to kind of curve like that. So what I'm going to do is tape it. Tape is just ever present in my life. It does everything. So I want to have a little bit hanging off the end. That way. Oh. Okay. So I've got a little bit hanging off this way, and then these are the longer pieces. And what I want to do is put my pencil down and then really tightly twist that plastic around that pencil and tape it up. And then, so I've got this plastic wound around the pencil, and that is putting it into the shape that I want it to be, okay? This is it's not a big curve, but at least it's a little curve. So one thing you could do is heat the plastic a little bit, not with a flame, really. That's not necessary. It would burn your your masking tape, but maybe with a hair dryer, or just leave it like this for a little while so that it kind of gets the hang of this curve. And then you just take it off. Where's the end? There it is, I think. Where is it? This is harder than it seems. Take it off. Oh, that's pretty nicely curved. It's pretty good. And then I'm just going to tape it at the end. And I need some stronger tape, I think. Let me just get, I'm not sure if this is stronger, but it's a different color. That says nothing. Proves nothing. Okay. So let's see how that goes. So, got this little gouge here, and so this I could scoop parts out. Okay. And you could play around with this to kind of decide, do you want to have the tape, you know, it might be closer to the pencil, it might be taped up closer, you might even make, you know, you could cut little shapes in here, you could do all kinds of things, but this, you can carve things out. And another thing that I like to do with something like this is just smooth things, because it does a much better, like if my finger smooths things, it goes like that. But if this plastic smooths things, try to say that 12 times, smooths things, and it gets super smooth, okay? So there are just some random things you can use as tools. And then you can, so you've got 3 tools that you've adapted, and then 3 tools that are just what you're going to use. Okay, so maybe I have a, let's see, this is some lip balm, and I'm going to use it for the texture. Okay. Maybe I'm going to use this lip balm for the texture, so that would be one. I've got one adapted tool, 2 adapted tools, 3 adapted tools, and then 1 tool that is just like it is. Let's take a pen cap. The pen cap can kind of gouge things out, and it can also smooth things and create textures. Maybe it also makes funny little shapes and cuts things. Very helpful little pen cap. So there's one tool that I'm not going to change, an unadapted one. And then let's see, I've got a screw here, so I could use the screw without adapting it, without creating a handle. We're using the word adapt to say that you're going to change it in some way. Okay, so I'm going to use this maybe for the texture, and poof. So I've got my 3 tools that are not being adapted, and I've got my 3 tools that are. And then you take a picture. Can you see those? Yes. Oh, I'm putting them in the wrong way. Okay, so there is the activity for this week, and I hope you have fun with it. Take a picture of each of these, upload it to the discussion board, and we'll see what kinds of wacky tools people come up with. Remember that you can make exactly the same tools that I'm making, or you can do something totally different, okay? Whatever you want to do. Let's see what fun things people come up with. Have a great day.